afternoon, everyone. We're about to start the program. I'd like everyone to please get a seat. Afternoon, those who are standing, you can find a seat. We appreciate it. I'd like to get the program started. I'm not looking for nothing. I'm not looking for no political position. All I want is for my brothers to walk free. When I can rise and my brothers can rise beside me, then that's rising. The words of Fred Harris. To open our program this afternoon, we're going to have Brother Miles Bradley from the Yale Divinity School to offer an invocation. Brother Miles. Brother Miles? Oh. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. You have to hold the mic close to you. See this young brother hands. He's a student at Yale Divinity School.
All right. It is such an honor to be among you all today to honor the Mr. Fred Harris. Can we please just give Mr. Fred Harris a round? Is Miles Bradley, and I'm with the Department of Arts and Culture and Tourism here in New Haven, which is directed by Adrian Jefferson, who is there in the back. Can we please give Adrian a round of applause? To be a part of this event with each of you. Sophie and Dr. Pam, thank you for your leadership with this event. We are so excited to honor you today, Mr. Harris. And we just want to say thank you for being here. I'm also a Detroit native, so I heard you came from Detroit, so that is very exciting to hear. And we just look forward to a wonderful, wonderful program. Thank you so much again.
Invocation.
Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your spirit that is among us, that has never, ever left us, and will continue to be with us from this day forward. We thank you for the life and the fruit and the works of Mr. Fred Harris and the Hill Parents Association. We thank you for their acts of justice that continue to breathe life into this community today. God, we ask that you continue to bless this ceremony, that you bless all of those that are connected to Mr. Fred Harris, and that you may continue to bless the city of New Haven. It is in your gracious name we pray and say amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Miles. If there is no struggle, there will be no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and deprecate agitation are men and women who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want the rain without the thunder and the lightning. They want the ocean without the roar of its mighty waters. We may not get all we pay for in this world, but we must certainly pay for what we get. For power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. For the limits of tyrants are imposed only by the endurance of those whom they oppress. If there is no struggle, there will be no progress. The powerful words of Frederick Douglass, over 150 years ago, that are still relevant then as they are now, and certainly embody the spirit and legacy of the brother we honor this afternoon, Fred Harris. No struggle, no progress. God bless him. To bring opening remarks and biography of Brother Fred Harris, we have Mr. Jose De Jesus, Treasurer of the Hill North Community Management Team. Brother Hill, Jose here? All right, we'll get it when he comes. We'll take a moment to just introduce a few folks. Certainly the mayor, the Honorable Mayor Justin Elkins here from the city of New Haven. Let's give him a shout out. He's going to have some words for us. Mr. Mike Moran, who just recently anointed and appointed our city historian, the first, I think, in history. Mike Moran from Yale, thank you, Mike, city historian. Certainly Dr. Ed Jordan, where you hear from noted historian who's taught to everybody in New Haven at some point in this night. As an educator and a scholar, we certainly acknowledge Dr. Jordan, and we'd be remiss if we didn't take a moment to give a shout out to internationally known doctor, educator, mentor, Dr. James Coleman. Dr. Coleman, give him a shout out, please. Dr. Coleman, thank you so much. We owe so much, all of us owe so much to Dr. Coleman. Thank you for his presence. So at this point, is Jose here? No? All right, we'll move on. Celebrating History, the Voices of Resilience exhibition. We're going to bring up Sophie Edelstein, co-organizer for this exhibit. Sophie, as she comes up, note that Sophie is the graduate of Wilbur Cross and Yale, and this weekend we're receiving her master's in public health. Give her a hand.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is lovely to see so many of your faces here today. As many have said before me, we are here today to highlight and celebrate the legacy of Mr. Fred Harris, the Hill Parents Association, and their work in New Haven. My name is Sophie, and I have had the honor and privilege of co-organizing today's events alongside the beloved Dr. Pamela Bunn Kelly and Sean McAllister. Now, many of you here today know this history like the back of your hand. Many of you have lived this history. But for those who do not, I want to provide a little bit of information on what the Hill Parents Association was, who was involved, and why Mr. Harris has left such a lasting impact on New Haven's cultural fabric. I also encourage those who have the time to engage with the exhibit Voices of Resilience, which will be here in City Hall for the month of May, before making its way to the Wilson Library in the Hill. Founded in the spring of 1965 in the Hill neighborhood, HPA emerged from the shared concerns of parents whose children attended the Prince Street School. One day in 1965, Mr. Harris saw his two daughters, Rhonda and Madera, leaving for school with pieces of brown paper in their hands. He asked their mother, Ms. Rose Harris, why they were bringing the paper to school with them, and she responded, informing Fred that there was no toilet paper in the bathrooms of school. Mr. Harris was furious. But it wasn't just a lack of toilet paper in the bathrooms. Shared books were scarce, the physical condition of the building was in disrepair, the teachers were abusive towards children of color, and the school's leadership did not reflect the makeup of the student population. Mr. Harris, along with Rose and other concerned parents, recognized an urgent need for action to address the deplorable conditions in their neighborhood school, and so they founded the Hill Parents Association. In the spring of 1966, the HPA held its first major public meeting, bringing together parents from Prince Street School and organizers from the Hill Neighborhood Union. Together, they embarked on a door-to-door campaign to mobilize support and demand change. They received help from several Yale students like Jake Blum, and John Wilhelm, among others. John is actually on the Zoom today. Among others, within weeks, they organized a 2-day picket outside the school where they demanded basic amenities like toilet paper, paint for the walls, books, and the appointment of a black principal. Quickly, their demands were met. The school received the supplies it desperately needed, the existing principal was fired, and a black principal was appointed. However, the Hill Parents Association's activism extended beyond the walls of the school. Mr. Harris, along with other HPA leaders such as Ronnie Johnson, Ann Boyd, and Curtis Belton, among others, became deeply engaged in broader issues affecting the Hill community. From urban renewal projects and housing policies that threaten to displace residents and erode the fabric of their neighborhood, to issues of access to effective and high-quality health care, the Hill parents were present to fight every single battle. Mr. Harris was a prominent voice in the struggle for social justice, challenging city officials like Mayor Richard Lee and advocating for rights in marginalized communities. His confrontational approach, often considered militant, and willingness to stand up to authority earned him both admiration and notoriety. But more than anything else, it was his unwavering commitment to his community that defined his leadership. One thing that is critical to mention is that the HPA emerged against the backdrop of President Lyndon B. Johnson's war on poverty. While the Economic Opportunity Act passed by the federal government in the summer of 1964 aimed to involve those of lower socioeconomic backgrounds in the administration of anti-poverty programs, These programs often fell short of their intended goals as they maintained a top-down approach and limited meaningful participation of community members. But Mr. Harris wanted to change this, and he did. PTA protested inadequate welfare payments along the New Haven welfare malls at the state capitol in 1966. They also hosted clothing and school supply drives. They opened an arts cooperative in an abandoned warehouse on Hornsey Street in 1968. In 1967, they established Operation Breakthrough, a program that aided in the repair of what the city considered blighted properties and helped unemployed community members find jobs. They also established a summer camp for children, led the charge in launching the Hill Health Center, opened the Afro Lounge at 692 Congress Avenue, and ensured that children had a safe park to play at in their neighborhood. As Mr. Harris has explained it to me, he knew he couldn't change the system from the outside, so he had to do it from the inside. In his role as community advocate at the Connecticut Mental Health Center, he brought the community's demands from outside in. He advocated for more Spanish-speaking providers, more community staff members, and better training of providers to ensure that they were more aware and understanding of the urban problems faced by their patients. I could go on and share more about the impactful programs that Mr. Harris and the Hill parents spearheaded, but I am afraid we would probably be here all afternoon. Nevertheless, the story of Mr. Fred Harris and the Hill Parents Association not only serves as a testament to the enduring power of grassroots activism and community organizing, but also offers valuable lessons for addressing contemporary social challenges. Their journey highlights the importance of collective action in confronting systemic injustice and the limitations of top-down approaches to social change. In today's context, where our communities and communities afar continue to grapple with issues of systemic racism, economic inequality, and social marginalization, their legacy reminds us of the necessity of centering community voices and experiences in the fight for justice and liberation. By learning from their strategies, resilience, and commitment to collective empowerment, we can better navigate and confront the complex challenges of our time, working collectively towards a more equitable and just society. As Mr. John Wilhelm shared with me last week, knowing Fred was a gift to my life. Among many other things, I learned from his humility. It would have been easy for someone who received the amount of attention that Fred did to develop a big ego. He never did. Mr. Harris, thank you for your tireless efforts in advancing social change and empowering so many communities. You have surely left your mark on New Haven, and it has been a true honor to learn from you.
All right.
We acknowledged a few folks earlier, and no disrespect to anyone. Everyone here is important. Fred wants to know that he appreciates your presence, and we acknowledge all of you and thank you for being here to honor Fred Harris. We'd be remiss before we bring up Poet Laureate of the Influence. We'd be remiss today, I'm sure Brother Fred would appreciate it, if we did not acknowledge that on this date, May 17, 1954, the United States Supreme Court ruled in Brown versus Board of Education the separate but equal was unconstitutional. 70 years later. As great a decision and important as that decision was in American legal history, here we are 70 years later, still struggling on that same basic issue of quality education, equity in education for children of color in this city, in this state, and around the country. So we still got work to do. We appreciate and applaud the decision, we applaud the date, but recognize and realize, I'm sure Brother Fred would want us to say that, we got work, we still have work to do. At this point, we'd like to bring up our Poet Laureate, who goes by his stage name, Brother Influence, to come up and enlighten and educate us. Brother Influence, come on down. Brother Influence.
How's everybody doing? Mr. Harris, first before I get started, I just want to thank you for laying a framework for someone like me who loves my community, loves my city, for advocacy and activism and the beautiful history that it is here in New Haven. I want to thank you so much for providing that for me. So I'm gonna do a poem, and I hope I hit a little bit of all the points of what you worked so hard for. My father once told me the day would come to pass for so-called young niggas who no longer be called vultures, scavengers. Like we be picking carcasses looking for culture. You see, closed books perpetuate contagious ignorance that's been passed on like swine and cut free from the Willie Lynch letter. So let's call that incubated breeding. Like the purity of my culture was born from the rise at Ivy League colleges, and I'm only American because I was crossbreeded in. As they remodel my brown skin like clay, got my cities aching. The economic struggles suffocate like the new enterprises battle air, so forget exhaling because I can't afford it. You see, our lungs have become restricted, scientifically be outfitted. Welfare chokes us like pollution locked inside of a box, putting large holes in the dream of my youth, making them believe that it's sublime to beat and kill each other like slaves, fighting for the new age auction blocks, because the earning potential is that much more greater than stop at their hunger. So gentrification 101 said, so-called public assistance is now the greatest find in America's history, solidifying the concrete jungle. So mandingos no longer hunt from high trees. Poison darts are replaced with glass sticks and cracked rocks. So the KKK no longer has to lynch us. You see, heroin has us hanging from our own veins. So call us strange fruit, harvest by ignorance, because my young brothers can't feel the world at their fingertips. So they massage themselves into believing that their life prosperity can never be as true as Kwame, unless they inflate their dreams into basketballs and footballs and their views of riches only measured by fine girls and expensive cars. Because complacent society said that's the only way they become stars. The BET let 50 Cent tell them that bullet wounds will make you a general, while Weezy got them stuffing cash in the duffel bags when real hustlers put on suits and stack their money up in NASDAQ, so you can't get mad when they tell you they want to hear nothing about education. Because hip-hop propaganda has led them to believe that their lifespan can't get no better than hood rich. Therefore, they feel it better to be called so hood than to become a Rhodes Scholar and create a path out the hood. Truth be told, if someone told them that cooking crack was actually chemistry and bagging up a wet 150 to make 400 was the foundations of economics, maybe my babies would go to college. Instead of thinking that higher learning was doing a 5 to 10 in the federal pen, see, I don't know, but maybe it's just me, but if T.I. and Jay-Z said having swagger like us actually meant having extreme confidence in oneself, maybe young boys wouldn't take and deposit their self-esteem, then spew their dreams from their loins into young girls trying to validate their manhood. Like having extra notches in your belt and your pants sagging, representing your life is all good. But young brothers, I understand. But yet you're standing where I stood. But yet you're drowning where I swam. It's like I'm standing on the banks of Jordan and watch you gurgle your last breath. See, I can't push these poems out fast enough to reinflate your chest. So let's call it death by abandonment. A generation of people to treat their children like Jesus and show them no acknowledgement. So neighborhood cross streets now become their crucifix. So let's call them the passion of the Christ, because they're dying before they show the world their true potential. So I send these poems up as melodic hymn notes, asking my God to be forgiven. Because the truth is, the reason why they call our children vultures, because they're scavenging on the garbage that we're giving them. Thank you so much.
Another hand for influence. I'll pull it off. And in the spirit of Maya Angelou and Langston Hughes, the last poets, Gil Scott Heron, Amir Baraka, today we speak to you. Thank you. Appreciate you. I guess someone just reminded me, I had really formally introduce myself. For those who don't know, my name is Clifton Graves Jr., and I'm honored to serve as MC for this program. Hear me okay? And I thank you. Let's give a round of applause to the Monk family, Dr. Pam, Mark Kelly, and her family for putting this together for Harris. The Monk family, thank you. I was a teenager when my family moved here from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Brother Fred. But as soon upon arrival, I heard about you. The word around the community was about this Brother Fred Harris, community organizer, instigator, agitator, move and shake, change agent, difference maker. And I learned to admire and be in awe of your work and your service. We thank you. thank you for that. And on that perfect segue, as we introduce one of your mentees to be the guest speaker for the day. Scott Esdale sent me a biography that was about 9 pages long, and he teased me about that, and so we have to pull out and glean the important parts. Scott was born, raised in New Haven, graduated Hammond High School, attended Virginia State University down in Petersburg, Virginia, and since that time has made a tremendous impact in our city, in our state, and this country. He founded Elm City Nation, an organization dedicated to mobilizing, organizing, redirecting the energy as Brother Influence just talked about. The energy of these young brothers who feel they have to go to resort to gang violence, and give them options and alternatives to utilize those skill sets to better use. From there, he went on to become president of the local NAACP, New Haven chapter for many years, and propelled himself from there to state president of the NAACP, where he presently serves, as well as national board member of the NAACP. Many initiatives, we certainly want to cite the great debates that Scott has coordinated with historical black colleges and universities, bringing schools like Howard and Hampton and Morehouse to New Haven to debate Yale, and certainly give exposure to those schools. He's also done it around the country, quite frankly. He's also brought the football teams, and I think the Unity Classics that they call. He's brought schools from historical black colleges around the country to play Yale, to play Southern, to play UNH. But his most ambitious project to date is the one he's embarking on now. He'll expand on it, I'm sure, a little. It's the Million Jobs Campaign, where he's targeted men and women, formerly incarcerated men and women from our communities, and try to empower them, get them jobs, give them opportunities, give them a chance, give them a true second chance to make a difference in our world. So we certainly, it's probably his greatest accomplishment, I'm sure you acknowledge, is his marriage to his wife Adrian, who's a great, talented administrator at Gateway, and the 3 children that he fathered. So with that, we bring to the stage and to the mic a young man. I call him a young man because he's younger than I am. A young man who speaks, like Brother Fred speaks truth to power, and is as comfortable in the corporate suites as he is in the city streets, negotiating for the interests of the African American community. Please give a warm welcome to national board member of the NAACP, Scott.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Back in my hometown, New Haven, I'm glad to be here. And we got Detroit in the house. Hometown. The home of Stevie Wonder. Temptations. All of the greats from Detroit, and I'm gonna kind of break the ice a little bit. I know that we're doing a real formal thing. We're here to plan, organize, staff, direct, coordinate, report, design, implement, manage, and evaluate, Mr. Harris. But I'm just gonna break it down because you are so important to me in my life, and I really want to give the people the full experience that I've had and give it to them where it's really on the record and how important you are in my life. And I would never be in the position that I am if it wasn't for a person like you in my life. So if you don't mind, if you give me the nod, I'll be able to just break it down. Because I've been in the car with you, you brought me through the hood, you showed me where it went down. All right, so they talk about all this great stuff, but if I'm right, if I'm correct, you tell me if I'm wrong, they ran you out of this town. Am I right? Tell the truth, man. I want to, because he was a real civil rights activist and a freedom fighter. So usually, those type of individuals get ran out of town because they're doing so much for the people, and those that are in power are scared of individuals like him. People were terrified of little Freddie Harris. Am I right? Okay, now, when I'm wrong, you let me know. Now, first, before I go there, I would like to have his son stand up. This is the little Freddie Harris. Fred, stand up. Stand up. Now, this is my best friend. We argue and fuss and fight every morning, all throughout the day on the telephone. Now, Fred and I hated each other around 11, 12 years old. And we would fight on sight when we saw each other. Fred stopped me. He was like the little tough guy from his neighborhood, and I was the little tough guy from my neighborhood. And every time we saw each other, we would want to fight on sight. And my sister Carla, please stand up. And Andrea Lobo, stand up. They were the ones that stopped me and Fred from fighting with one another. And we ended up being best friends. And we're still best friends to this day. I also want to bring up Mr. Domingo Lobos, who's next to Freddie, who grew up with us, please stand up. And Polly Jackson, please stand up. We all went to high school together. And once again, we still fussing and fighting with one another to this day. This is family, y'all, so I just want to give you the whole picture. All right? Also want to acknowledge Mr. Harris' lovely wife. Will you please stand? Straight from Detroit also. Both of them are Harris' wives. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to do my NAACP thing, and then I'm going to get back to the family thing, all right? But from the National Board of Directors, our national president and CEO, President Derek Johnson, from our national chairman, Leon Russell, we give greetings to the Harris family on this momentous occasion. You all are not only recognized locally, but also statewide and also nationally. So we want to recognize you officially, and I have something that I want to present to you. This is from the Connecticut NAACP. And the Connecticut State Conference of NAACP branches. We give Mr. Fred Harris the Humanitarian Award in recognition of your steadfast service in the areas of civil rights, healthcare, and religious affairs in the Hills section of New Haven, Connecticut, all throughout New Haven, all across the state of Connecticut, and all throughout the United States of America. Your time, your dedication, and your service will never be forgotten. And this is presented by Scott X. Esdale, the president of the Connecticut State Conference, on May 17, 2020. So now back to I did all my official things, Mayor, and all of you dignitaries and all of the family members and to all of the sponsors of this mighty event, to Pamela Monk, and to all of the organizers, the students that put this thing, to all the young people. Let's give them all a round of applause. This is an amazing event, amazing event. So I just want to say some inspiring words, just so I could kind of catch the moment. But I actually lived in Detroit, in Vanessa's basement, for a year, working on my hip-hop career of managing rap groups and selling hip-hop clothing. And I had a whole basement full of nothing but leather jackets and outfits. My line was there. All throughout the basement, we were doing church, selling leather jackets at the church picnics and all kinds of stuff. They supported my dreams, and I thank them so much as I ran around Detroit, around the country, working on my personal career. And me and Freddie were trying to do all these different things to try to take over the world around civil rights. And we had some great ideas of trying to be like his dad, Mr. Fred Harris. So we heard all these great stories all the time, and wherever we went, about all these great things that his father achieved. And I always wanted to figure out how I could get into that particular lane and do similar things that he did during his day here in New Haven, Connecticut. And it makes me think of not Dr. King, but one of the favorite leaders that I've met in the NAACP. His name was Benjamin Hooks. In the back in the day, he served as the national president and CEO of the NAACP. Now, Dr. King was known for his I Have a Dream speech, but Dr. Hooks was known for his Who Belled the Cat speech. Dr. Hooks said there was a huge mice meeting, similar to the Black Panther meetings that you used to hold and the Hill Parents Association meetings that you used to organize, Mr. Harris. And they had this mice meeting, and they all came together from all over. During the meeting, the mice talked about this big cat and how they could organize, they couldn't organize because of this big cat. They said the big cat would eat them all up if they kept organizing. And the mice were trying to figure out a way they could organize without being killed. One young mouse stood up and said, what we need to do is to put a bell on the cat's tail. So when the cat comes around, the bell would make a loud noise and we could run and get away safely. They all said, that's a wonderful idea. That's a wonderful idea. And they all gave a round of applause for the young mouse. But then one of the elder mouse stood up and said, that's a great idea, but who's going to put the bell on the cat's tail? That's an individual like Fred Harris. The black community has always had a battle with the big cat, whether facing the big cat of lynching, the cat of unequal pay, the cat of mob violence, the cat of crooked cops and corrupt police, the big cat of voter suppression, the cat of evil forces. This is something that the black community has always had to organize and mobilize against. The cat of segregated restaurants, hotels, bathrooms, the cat of segregated cars and public transportation. We have been fighting against the big cat of racism every day of our existence. The civil rights community is the mouse that belled the cat of discrimination for hundreds of years. The civil rights activists are not mice. We are men and women that are very, very strong. And the big black cat represents evil everywhere. We are soldiers, we are freedom fighters in an army that fights for the people. The people in the community. We are not soldiers of war and bloodshed, but soldiers of peace and justice. Soldiers of legal battles. Soldiers for righteous policies and legislation. For community centers that will take care of the health of the people, like the Hill Health Community Center. We hold up blood-stained banners of civil rights organizations. Because over the years, so many individuals of our organizations have been killed, churches have been bombed, families have been destroyed, and members beaten until they were made unconscious. We bailed the cat of unequal schools in the Brown versus Board of Education case of 1954 with Thurgood Marshall, Charles Hamilton Houston, and Constance Baker Motley right here from New Haven, Connecticut. These are some of the greatest civil rights activists and attorneys the world has ever seen. So that was back then, but still we're fighting against white supremacist groups, burning of crosses, domestic terrorism, right here in Greenwich, Connecticut, several weeks ago. They had a white supremacist rally where they don't want any black or brown people in the state of Connecticut. In Bristol, Connecticut, several months ago, rallies again, asking all black and brown people to get the hell out of Connecticut. This is what they're saying. So much has not changed, Mr. Harris. We must continue to organize in this battle today. Your legacy will move on. It was domestic terrorism then, and it's domestic terrorism now. We bailed the cat and killed the cat that stopped black people from voting in America and created a way for Barack Obama to be the first black president of the United States of America. We also paved the way for Kamala Harris to be the first black female to be the vice president of the United States of America. Our people have always been there belling the cat. So today we are here to salute Fred Harris, a community organizer, a student organizer, and all of the people that he mobilized, officers, students, youth, supporters, custodians, waiters, waitresses, those that nobody cared about, Fred Harris cared about. Everyone that played a part in this great movement and the other great movements that have occurred. When we fight, we win. When we organize, we win. When we work together, we win. When we emulate ourselves behind great pillars of our community, like Fred Harris, we win. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to say a few words, but I thank you so much for having this honor and having the ability to have you in my life. God bless you.
That is good. The best education I received was working with people in the community on a grassroots basis. Because what it taught me was that ordinary people, when they are working together, can do extraordinary things. The words of Barack Hussein Obama. To bring out to the podium, we have going for some tributes to Brother Fred. We're going to ask, though, out of respect for his time, the Honorable Mayor Justin Elliott from New Haven to come up first. Mayor Elliott, give him a hand, please.
Good afternoon. Scott Exdale, I'm not happy with you. I brought this wonderful proclamation, and he brought this huge trophy. Making me look bad. Judge, thank you for everything you've done to gather us here together. There's a lot of power in this room. There's a lot of power in this room. You look at, we had New Haven's poet laureate, we have New Haven's historian, we have the educational father of New Haven, Dr. Comer. We have the father of New Haven. I saw Dr. Joyner here. Dr. Joyner, where'd you go, Dr. Joyner? Dr. Joyner has taught everyone, been their principal, is related to someone in the city. Dr. Joyner knows everyone in the city. We've got New Haven's mother of music here with Marcella Monk, Flake. Good to see you, Ms. Marcella. Obviously, New Haven's social justice, conscience with Scott Exdale and many more. And we have Mr. Harris. And we don't thank our elders enough for what they have taught us. And unfortunately, there's many that kind of put their elders to the side instead of elevating them up and recognizing just how much they have done, you have done for our community. You know, I talk about power, and power isn't in a title. Power is not a position. Power is not given to you. Power is something earned. Power is in truth. Power is in organizing. And if you don't have power, but you see injustices, you need to seize the power.
Yes.
And Mr. Harris has showed as an example for so many of us just how important that fight is. I think what Scott Exdale said was important, that we've come a long way, but man, we have a long way to go. And in today's environment, in the United States, if you're like me, you're disheartened every day you read the news. And seeing examples where people show more openly what they were probably thinking inside and were ashamed to show before, and that they're emboldened today. And that is a calling on all of us, following our elders and the work that they have done, the pathway they have shown us that we need to take to ensure that we truly have equity in our community. We have a long way to go. Mr. Harris, you have showed us just how important this fight is, the progress that we can make if we seize that power, and the pathway forward to walk towards a city, a state, and a nation that is truly equitable. So it is my great, great pleasure that I present to you this humble proclamation. Maybe it's not a trophy, but I hope the words mean something to you and acknowledge in some small way the service that you have given to our community. Whereas the City of New Haven is strengthened by the civic involvement of its residents and seeks to recognize individuals who have made outstanding contributions to its civic life. Whereas the City of New Haven honors Mr. Fred Harris, a civil rights leader and founder of the Hill Parents Association in New Haven during the 1960s, as he is honored by the Hill North Community Management Team and the International Festival for Arts and Ideas with the opening of a community history exhibit, Voices of Resilience. Fred Harris, the Hill Parents Association, and the Power of Community Organizing. Whereas Mr. Harris has made significant contributions to civil rights movement and to advance community empowerment within New Haven, playing a role in the Hill Parents Association advocacy efforts as one of the main grassroots organizations in New Haven during the 1960s, dealing with the frustrations of an era of racism and urban renewal, and protesting for bettering opportunities in education, employment, and housing for Black people within New Haven. Whereas Mr. Harris's contributions to social justice, community betterment, and equity for all throughout New Haven, along with his involvement in local politics and grassroots organizations, should be recognized for the importance they have to New Haven's progress. Now therefore do I, as the mayor of the city of New Haven, hereby honor Mr. Fred Harris. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. You may run me down in history with your bitter and twisted lies. You may try me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Maya Angelou, word for the words that embody the spirit and legacy of Fred Harris. Before we bring up a few other folks to bring tribute to Brother Harris, just two things. One, I'd like to ask those who are coming up to try to limit your comments out of respect for time. I know you have a lot to say about Brother Fred, but if you can limit your comments to 2 to 3 minutes, we appreciate it greatly. And I have to make this quick announcement, Pam, about our president and our future. Mike Moran is here from our city historian. There's a film that's been produced by folks here at Yale called What Might Have Been. I don't know if you heard about it, Brother Fred. It talks in 1831, there was an effort to bring the first historically Black college to New Haven in the country. That was a sincere effort led by a young divinity student seminarian named Simeon Jocelyn, who at the time was the pastor of Temple Street Church, which now is Dixwell Avenue Congregational Church. And abolitionists, white and Black, who pulled together resources. They'd actually bought a house, not right across the street from us, that would be in the house to house the accomplice to school. But there was a vote across the street, Mike, is that right? On New Haven Green. Because the only white man I think the property could vote. And the vote was something like, what was the vote like? 700 to 4 against putting a historical Black college in New Haven. But that's our history. That's part of our story we need to tell and we need to know. And so the film talks about, I encourage you to check it out, those who haven't seen it, because I think it's on YouTube, you can get access to it. It's a powerful film about our struggles in New Haven and the continuing struggles that we face. So again, it's called What Might Have Been, and I encourage you to check it out. All right, with that, we now bring up first, as the Minister of Music and Education for the Monk family, and certainly being educated in her own way, Marcella Monk Fleet. Give Marcella a hand, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marcella Monk Flake, and I'm the 7th child of Conley and Olivia Monk, who had 9 children, plus over 24 foster children. We lived on 263 Cedar Street, and as a little girl, I was born in 1957, tell me my age. But Mr. Harris was a rock star for me. When I saw him walk down the street, I knew there was something different about that man. I would look at him and I felt such a sense of pride because we were taught to drop our heads. We were taught that we came from a people that was inferior. I bought the whole lie of being genetically inferior, hook, line, and sinker. But when I looked at Fred Harris, I saw something different. I saw a man who walked with his back straight like my dad. I saw a man who loved. And because of you, Mr. Harris, You transformed our neighborhood. We were little kids, we were watching you. We watched Rhonda, we watched Madeira, we watched Fred. You know, I played with Rhonda. I knew there was something different about you, Miss Rose. And we knew there was something different. And our sister cut her hair, started wearing an afro. And in the church, it was alarming. They said to my mother, don't you let her wear an afro, she's gonna become a Black Panther. And so you know what my mother did? Our next choir anniversary, she made us purple dashikis so we could walk with our heads held high and know that we were somebody. So you were a catalyst, Mr. Harris. You ignited something in our community. And I just want to say in these brief words that you are special. I thank God for you because of the light that you exuded. It made me want to know more about who I was. So I went on a quest to learn about Black history, to understand the beauty and the greatness of Africa, and to know that my history did not begin with enslavement in this country. So thank you for everything you've done for every Black child in the Hill. When you walked in, tears came to my eyes because I still see you as a rock star. God bless you, man of God. Thank you.
I'm for truth, no matter who tells it. I'm for justice, no matter who it is for or against. The words of Malcolm X. Before we bring up something appropriate, before we hear from the great Dr. Joyner, let's acknowledge our young people. These students from John Martinez School who are doing the social media and technology. Give them a hand. Give them a hand. Our future. Next, the person who needs no real introduction because he's taught everybody in New Haven, probably Bridgeport too. But we certainly acknowledge his work as a teacher, as an educator, as a scholar, as an administrator, as one who also speaks truth to power, but his heart has historically been committed to the well-being and uplifting of young people in this city. So please give a warm welcome to Dr. Ed Joyner.
Actually, I'm a little gabby, so I need somebody to keep time for me. You said 3 minutes? Okay. Yeah, and I'll have a chance tonight to say more about a hero that I never met personally. And I'll try to, I'm going to ask the people on the side to not talk. This is an official event. Thank you. I came to New Haven in 1968 from North Carolina. And my first job was as a program analyst for community progress, which meant, excuse me, it's too important. This is too important. That was the beginning of the Johnson administration of Great Society program. And I was commissioned to go out into various communities, help them develop programs to alleviate poverty. The first 3 names I heard about when I was here was Fred Harris, Willie Council, and Vernon Moore. Vernon was my homeboy, he was from North Carolina. Now, that's my motherland, to be honest with you, and I can explain that if you ever want to know. But the thing about Fred Harris, using some of my southern vernacular, I saw him to be a little piece of leather, but he was well put together. That he was one of the bravest, most unselfish, and human beings that I had known. Particularly when I compare him to the historical figures that profoundly influenced my mindset, my values, and the type of courage that is necessary for a man to be a Fred Harris. In fact, my dear spiritual son, Scott Esdale, said he was run out of the city. To be honest with you, Scott, it was a strategic retreat because he's back. And some of the people that ran him out of the city, they're not even above ground. So let the church say amen. Amen. All right. Now, you You can't talk about Fred Harris without talking about a couple things about democracy. First, democracy is contested terrain. And the fuel for democracy is truth. Think about this. The most patriotic activist organization in this country's history were organizations like the Black Panther Party, the NAACP, CORE, SNCC. Why? Because they were contesting the theory of democracy with the practice of it. And if you want a great example, think about January 6th and ask yourself who is leading those folk to safety. The Black Panther Party said black power to black people, white power to white people, brown power to brown people, yellow power to yellow people, and red power to red people. Power to the people. Yeah. That is in our Constitution. The sad thing about it is that the founding fathers had a very narrow notion of democracy. It didn't include women, and newsflash, it didn't include poor white folk, and it didn't include any of the people that we embrace now. It only included wealthy white men who had lingering notions of monarchy, but the spirit to try to create a just and fair society. But it did lay the groundwork so that people like Fred could come along and say, listen, you say one thing, you do another. And so, in many ways, this man is one of the greatest patriots of our time. Because a patriot is a person that believes that these truths are self-evident, that all men and women are created equal and endowed by that creator with certain inalienable rights. That among these is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. How many organizations, you don't have the Klan talking about power to the people. You don't have the White Citizens Council talking about power to the people. You don't have Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about anything that makes sense. And so he is a patriot. And then of course the last thing I'll say, because I'm a little over, my father, John Elijah Joyner, was the grandson of a slave. Blaney Joyner, and Ellen Moore. And I used to read a lot of comic books when I was a kid. My dad said that you can't find heroes in comic books. You can like Superman, Batman, even the Black Panther, which wasn't around then. But guess what, folks? You know who the real Black Panther is? It's not T'Challa. It's Fred Harris. He is the original Black Panther. And I have a lot more to say about you tonight at the museum because you are a great man. And I'm so glad that you lived to see this moment.